Hello, my name is Don Wick, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Skagit County, I would like to welcome you to this candidates forum. I will serve as the moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose candidates. We encourage the informed and active participation of all citizens. Membership is open to men and women of all ages, and we invite you to join us. We acknowledge the candidates for being with us at this forum, and we appreciate those of you viewing this broadcast. We hope you will learn more about those who wish to represent you. Each candidate will be invited to do opening and closing statements of 2 minutes. Community-submitted questions have been provided to candidates. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond. Time may prevent asking all the questions presented. We welcome candidates for the Office of Public Utility District Position 1 on this broadcast. The Skagit PUD is a municipal corporation governed by 3 elected commissioners who serve 6-year terms. The district operates the most expansive water system in Skagit County with over 26,000 metered services serving approximately 70,000 people, an average of 9 million gallons of water per day. The commissioners are charged with enacting policies regarding this vital resource. There are 5 candidates who will appear on your primary ballot for this race. I'll introduce them in alphabetical order and would ask each candidate to please raise your hand when I call your name so the audience can see you. Here we go. Ken Goodwin. Wim HOUPPERMANS. Andrew Miller. Bryce Nickel. And Rick Pick. Our timer will be tracking the time, which begins with green as it counts down, turns yellow when 15 seconds remain. When it turns red, time is up, so you will please have to stop talking. We ask that candidates be respectful of the time allowed. If you speak beyond the time limit, you must mute your microphone. We will begin now with a 2-minute introductory statement from each candidate. Candidate Andrew Miller, you have 2 minutes.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to get together and discuss this important issue of electing a commissioner for the PUD. I think one of the most important things that we need to realize as a community is that water really is at the heart of our quality of life here in Skagit Valley. I know I was shocked growing up here. You kind of discover water last as a fish, but we live on the 3rd largest river system on the west coast of the United States, and there's 126,000 of us here in the county. And to not have enough water for all of our citizens and for the ecology and for agriculture and for industry is pretty shocking. And so that's one of the main reasons that I chose to dive into this race, is because I think there are some fundamental policy resets that need to happen. We need to take a really good, hard look at what it means to share what we have an abundance of. I think it's important that we select a bunch of different lenses, frankly, the lens of our ecology, and that drives so much of what it means to live and enjoy and work in Skagit Valley. We need to have a look at that. We need to have a good, hard look at how this water resource can support the economy, which again drives the quality of life that we enjoy here in Skagit Valley. And there are unique and frankly innovative ways that we should be driving some of these policy decisions. Again, I think that it's incredibly important that we have public officials here in Skagit County. And again, frankly, the PUD has not historically been the harbinger of competence in that level. So I think it's really important that we all bring our very best selves to governing in this way. That's it.
Thank you. Next, candidate Ken Goodwin, would you please unmute yourself and begin with your opening statement? You have 2 minutes.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. We've all heard the phrase that experience counts, and it could not be more applicable than with this election. 2 of the 3 PUD commissioners now serving are going to be leaving by the end of the year, taking with them over 35 years of combined water experience and governance experience. I'm the only candidate with both municipal water experience and elected commissioner experience. I currently serve as the president of the Port of Anacortes Commission. If you're thinking, why am I running for another elected office? Let me tell you. Even though I truly enjoy being a port commissioner, when the opportunity to return to municipal water came about, it was too compelling to not come up or take up that opportunity. I was a commissioner with the Woodinville Water District for 17 years, and I was a finance director for the Alderwood Water and Wastewater District for 12 years. I was also a board member and president of the Water and Sewer Risk Management Pool for 17 years that provides insurance to water districts. When I retired from that position, I was given a plaque stating many things, but one of it was that I was the single most effective leader in the history of the Water and Sewer Risk Management Pool. I've been the vice president and treasurer of the State Association of Water and Sewer Districts. I've served on many committees dealing with water, supply, salmon, etc. I can hit the ground running and be an effective leader, providing guidance with knowledge of the issues and best practices and financial oversight with my background as a CPA for 40 years and a prior finance director. I am experienced and an effective leader. No on-the-job training required with me as your commissioner.
Thank you. Candidate Bryce Nickel, would you please unmute yourself and begin with your opening statement? You have 2 minutes.
Hello, this is Bryce Nickel. I am a autistic savant postgraduate student majoring in IT and administrative management. My main focus is to prepare for the future of automation. It's estimated we're going to lose 40% of our jobs in the next 20 years to automation. And we need to prepare by having more support funding for low income and people who lose their jobs through no fault of their own. So that's going to be my main focus as a commissioner. I want to reduce costs of charging people for utilities. I would like to develop a nonprofit or a department within the PUD to raise funds through events and galas and fundraisers in the long term. I also would like to make sure that water or utilities cannot be shut off. Let's see. I have a background in IT, and I believe we need to adopt modern technology and keep our utilities up to date. Let's see. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate HOUPPERMANS, would you please unmute yourself and begin with your opening statement? You have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Wim HOUPPERMANS. I'm a mechanical engineer and I work at Becker. It's on Farm to Market Road. I also am involved. I'm a board member of Evergreen Islands. So the past decade, I've been involved with environmental issues. I'm an environmental steward. I'm interested in being your PUD commissioner, not only to provide oversight on on its daily operations, but also to provide, to have an impact in a long-term plan. I think the current plan, which basically is a maintenance plan for the next decade, in addition to that, we should also look at what happens with our water supply in 60 years. We are having to deal with climate change. We will have wetter winters, drier summers, and we'll need to store our water. I think the current capacity of the PUD is sufficient for its current customers, but if you start including more agriculture, more businesses, maybe even offsetting a bit of the use by the Anacortes utility, we definitely need a lot more storage of water. That's my idea, but I, of course, first want to see a proper study on those things done, and we'll see what the answers are of those. With that, I'm done.
Thank you. Candidate Rick Pitt, would you please unmute yourself and begin with your opening statement? You have 2 minutes.
I'm muted. Hold on. So let's see. Is that muted? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Can we start the timer over again? I'm already down 1 minute. Thank you. Thank you, Don, and thank you for the thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. My name is Rick Pitt. Skagit County has been my home since 1989. I'm an attorney with over 30 years experience. I started my career as a staff attorney with the Washington State Supreme Court. For the last 13 years, I've been an attorney representing another Western Washington PUD. I've also been a commissioner for a small water district in Eastern Washington. As a PUD attorney and as a water district commissioner, I've participated in numerous policy discussions and budget preparations. I have the experience. Water is critical to our economy, our ecology, and our way of life. With 2 of the 3 commissioners leaving the board this year, it's important that the new commissioner be knowledgeable in the issues facing the PUD. Foremost among these issues is maintaining high-quality water services and consistent, affordable rates. This will be a challenge to the PUD with its aging infrastructure and an aging workforce. I believe it is important to balance the infrastructure of the aging workforce, and I believe it is important to balance the maintenance of our water service infrastructure with fiscally conservative approach to rates. Climate change and COVID-19 pandemic present additional challenges. With the pandemic recession, many PUD customers have been unable to pay their water bills. I believe the PUD needs to work with these customers to do whatever it takes to help them get back on their feet. This includes waiving interest, penalties, reconnection charges, deferring payments when appropriate, and agreeing to repayment plans. One policy the Skagit PUD has not adopted but should adopt, and which I support, is the Helping Hands program. The PUD is authorized by statute to work with a local charity, and as part of its regular billings, request voluntary contributions to assist qualified low-income residential customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In this next section of the forum, we will move to the responses to questions which have been presented by League members and provided to the candidates in advance. Each candidate will be asked to respond to the same question as they are called upon. Now for the first question. As a reminder, you each have 1.5 minutes for your answer. Would candidate Ken Goodwin please respond to this question? The question: the PUD is charged with fulfilling the policies determined by our elected officials at the county, state, and federal level. What role can the PUD play in preserving agriculture as a viable sector of our local economy? Mr. Goodwin.
Let's see. Thank you. I consider the preservation of the ag lands as vital to the economy and the character of the Skagit Valley. The good soils don't exist everywhere. The PUD can't dictate solutions to the ag issues. It needs to be meeting with the stakeholders, the county and the farmers, as the agricultural production district countywide planning process policies are developed by the county. The PUD can develop water rates that are fair and equitable to the farmers. It can engage the farmers in the development of its water supply plan, which is required by the state every 10 years. Some people talk about helping the farmers and they think it's a good idea, but I've had some interaction with the farmers in preserving agricultural lands in King County. In 1990, King County tried to convert lands to soccer use. My association, the Hollywood Hill Association, hired an attorney, and we went to the state Supreme Court with others to challenge King County's ability to convert those ag lands in the Sammamish Valley. And we were successful. We got a unanimous opinion, and they could not convert them to non-ag uses. So not only do I support them, but I've got a history of actually being engaged and making something happen to preserve farmlands. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate Bryce Nickel, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? Let me read the question. The PUD is charged with fulfilling the policies determined by our elected officials at the county, state, and federal level. What role can the PUD play in preserving agriculture as a viable sector of our local economy?
Well, I would start off by saying that the commissioners are the front leaders, and we have the greatest benefit to controlling the agriculture, preserving agriculture, and making it a valuable part of our economy. So we have to make sure that our leaders are top of the line. You know, they know exactly what they're doing. They have experience. They, as a commissioner, you want to make sure that we are hiring people, or not hiring, but making sure we have the best directors running the PUD, the best managers, because we can't rely on state and federal level to support us all the time, because the further you go up the chain, the less support, less competence and caring about our local economy. So we have to rely on ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate Wim HOUPPERMANS, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? Let me read it again. The PUD is charged with fulfilling the policies determined by our elected officials at the county, state, and federal level. What role can the PUD play in preserving agriculture as a viable sector of our local economy?
I think, first of all, this question is about irrigation, so providing water to the agricultural industry. And of course, this is no problem in March or April when it's still a rainy season. But it is a problem in August and September when a river, Skagit River, already runs very low. In the near future, our glaciers will disappear, and so that low water level in the river will even be lower because the lack of glacial melt. I already hinted at a long-term vision and that we should plan ahead, and that means a reservoir also for irrigation. Another role that the PUD could play is educate, that's maybe overstating it, but encourage responsible irrigation, not just spraying a lot of water, but maybe using a drip system. Conservation. I'll yield my time.
Thank you very much. Now, candidate Rick Pitt, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? And the question, the PUD is charged with fulfilling the policies determined by our elected officials at the county, state, and federal level. What role can the PUD play in preserving agriculture as a viable sector of our local economy?
Thank you. To start with, I think it's important to recognize the current efforts the PUD has undertaken to preserve and promote agriculture in the Valley. First, both 2015 and 2019 were drought years where our farmers' irrigation water supply was cut off because of below minimum in-stream flows in the Skagit River. In response, the PUD worked with the Washington Department of Ecology to provide emergency irrigation water to our farmers. Although this was temporary, it was critical, and I would support these efforts until we are able to find a permanent fix. Second, the PUD recently entered into an interlocal agreement with the Skagit Drainage and Irrigation District Consortium, a new county-sponsored agency. In that agreement, the PUD and the consortium agreed to work cooperatively on a number of projects, including a joint legislative task force to find a permanent, uninterruptible source of water for our farmers. This interlocal agreement also includes cooperation and coordination of certain ongoing agricultural related projects. I recently spoke with Jenna Fraubel, the consortium's executive director, and she was optimistic that this matter will proceed. I agreed that the PUD should continue these efforts as well as additional efforts. Well, thirdly, I believe the PUD should participate with ecology, the tribes, the county, and all interested parties in the relicensing process of the Seattle City Light Skagit River dams. A modest change in summer discharge from Seattle's 3 dams could provide resources needed to.
Thank you. Now, candidate Andrew Miller, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The PUD is charged with fulfilling the policies determined by our elected officials at the county, state, and federal level. What role can the PUD play in preserving agriculture as a viable sector of our local economy?
So as a farmer, you're sitting here listening to some of these other discussions. I think there's great ideas like Mr. Pitt, that your idea of tapping some of the other resources, especially the Baker, you know, all the water on the other side of Ross Lake Dam and Baker Lake Dam ought to be considered part of that. I think one of the biggest things that we can do, and the farmers that I talk to repeatedly, they want an active partner. They want PUD to step up and represent the rest of the community, just to say, hey, look, if ag is important, why aren't we making water-based decisions that say ag is important? The idea of charging or reducing rates for water coming out of the river is a non-starter for a lot of farmers. We sit here and we say, what can I plant? Well, now the question isn't what can I plant? The question is what can I irrigate? As Kim and some other folks have said, you know, the PUD right now has 5 months worth of water backed up in the Judy Reservoir. So a couple of days of irrigation, water being released in July and August can make the difference between a farmer being able to grow again next year. And it is all about helping farmers to understand if there's a variable that we can control, it ought to be water. And that's something that they can take to the bank. And if we can keep crops growing, then we'll have better water quality. Better soil quality drives better water quality. They need an active partner.
Thank you. We now go to question number 2. I'll remind you that the answers, you have 1.5 minutes, and if you go over that time limit, you will be muted by our response team here. So thank you so much for your cooperation. Question number 2. First, we're going to candidate Bryce Nickel. Bryce, this question for you. You have 1.5 minutes. And if you can unmute yourself. The PUD and the Port of Skagit have formed a partnership to help county residents access fiber optics. What are your thoughts on this project?
I think it's a great project. Right now, the private sector has a monopoly on internet service providing to the city. So we get low service at high costs. So with this public option of fiber optics being built throughout the county, it makes them compete and bring up their services to meet our new, better standards at a cheaper cost. It also helps the poor get internet, because the internet is the future of jobs. You know, connecting, just to apply for jobs in the modern age, you have to use the internet. You have to go online. We need more services for everyone throughout our community to have stronger internet connections, faster internet connections, so they can work in the future economy. And I think it was an amazing idea. Thank you for everyone that worked on that project.
Thank you. Candidate HOUPPERMANS, would you unmute yourself and respond to this same question? The PUD and the Port of Skagit have formed a partnership to help county residents access fiber optics. What are your thoughts on this project?
I call this a perfect marriage. The port, of course, first objective is to stimulate the economy, to create jobs. And all our businesses in this modern age need the internet. The port, however, is not there to build infrastructure. The PUDs are, and the port doesn't have a billing system. So together, the Skagit PUD can provide the infrastructure, can provide the billing service, and the combination with the port probably makes access to grant money to finance it all much easier. So I think it's just a perfect marriage.
Thank you. Now, Candidate Pitt, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The PUD and the Port of Skagit have formed a partnership to help county residents access fiber optics. What are your thoughts on this project?
The short answer is I'm in favor of it. I've seen it work in other counties, most notably Grace Harbor County, where I helped implement a similar plan. It works in part because the public infrastructure is not competing with the internet service providers and the CLECs, the competitive local exchange carriers, for retail customers. I've actually reviewed the Skagit County Community Fiber Optic Network Strategic Plan. The strategic plan appears to have evolved into a joint operating agreement between the port and the PUD to provide an open access wholesale telecommunications system to serve rural areas and East County communities. This is important because obviously they lack fiber optics and the economics are simply not there for private parties to proceed. The long-term strategic goal is a county-wide carrier-grade fiber network. This would enhance economic development, education, public health, and safety. The plan envisions 6 construction segments with a total cost of approximately $2.9 million and a financial model showing a slightly positive return on the investment over a 15-year period. Again, this is the type of situation that the PUDs were actually meant to do back in the 30s when PUDs were enacted, when the statute was enacted to allow PUDs to provide power services to rural communities. So yes, I'm very much in favor of it.
Thank you. Candidate Miller, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The PUD and the Port of Skagit have formed a partnership to help county residents access fiber optics. What are your thoughts on this project?
This is a no-brainer. It is absolutely critical that we have access to water, and the internet idea is, this is, as someone has already said, it's a perfect marriage. The port is positioned, they're organized, trained, and equipped to get this done, but they don't have the reach that the PUD has. I think one thing that the PUD should be doing maybe a little bit more of is leaning forward on this and really looking hard at the solutions that the city of Anacortes has come up with. I know there's some technology solutions that they're pulling out. There are some, even on the retail side, I don't see this as, I think it's not a question of if, it's a question of how much. And I would absolutely support PD efforts to dive into this and to get countywide broadband a priority for everyone. If water goes there, then broadband should go there.
Thank you. Candidate Goodwin, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The PUD and the Port of Skagit have formed a partnership to help county residents access fiber optics. What are your thoughts on this project?
There it is. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm using my cell phone. It's a little difficult. Did you back the timer up, please? Thank you. This is a great program, and it's a good example of how governments can work together to serve the people. It's something that I've done in the water industry in the past 20 years, getting different agencies to work together to move water in the right place at the right price. You know, with the shelter-in-place order due to COVID, we now know the vital role internet has had to play in our society. Businesses are adapting to work at home. Students are being taught at schools or taught at home, and governments are conducting the people's business via Zoom and other internet methods, and it's working. But it needs to be refined and expanded, and everybody has to have an opportunity to participate in that. And to ensure that every resident has access to the high-speed fiber, it's going to take a cooperative effort by more than the PUD. You know, I look forward to studying the implementation plan and the cost associated with that. I'm also aware that Elon Musk is developing Starlink, and it's a global network of 42,000 satellites circling the globe, providing high-speed, low-cost internet to the world. I'd be curious to see how that would fit in with what the port and the PUD are going to do, and if at all. But these are exciting times and things are changing rapidly, and I look forward to being a part of it.
Thank you. We now move on to the third question. Again, a reminder, you have 1.5 minutes to answer the question. And if you take longer than that, you will be muted by our resource team. We go now to candidate Wim HOUPPERMANS. And the question is, what are your thoughts about the proposed $20 million capital improvement plan, including the location?
I must say that the question kind of confused me a bit. I thought that it was a mixture between what actually the capital improvement plan is, which is a reflection of the longer term vision of the current board and management. And that plan especially covers maintenance and where they plan to do maintenance in the coming years. There's also, in the past year, been talk of moving the location of the PUD building, and that plan is scrapped. So that was also a number that got close to 20 million. With that, I yield my time.
Okay, thank you very much. Candidate Pitt, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? What are your thoughts about the proposed $20 million capital improvement plan, including the location?
I believe the current capital improvement plan will need to be revised. First of all, because the PUD's retail revenues, although showing some resiliency, are down. Second, the state of Washington is looking at approximately $7 billion budget deficit. So the grants and loans the PUDs have traditionally relied upon in part to fund some of their capital projects will no longer be available. While I would defer to the engineering staff to reprioritize capital projects, I note the largest capital expenditure for 2020 is the $11 million rebuild of the water transmission line from the Judy Reservoir to Mount Vernon. This pipeline continues to fail on a regular basis, I think most recently in April, and in my layman's view, it is a critical infrastructure that needs to proceed. Most people don't realize how fortunate we are to have high quality water service at affordable rates. One needs only to look at the problems in Detroit and New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, to realize the costs of human suffering, education, and economic development of a failing water system. Climate change poses a new threat to our water resources, which will only increase in coming years. More than ever, we need experienced leadership at the PUD to maintain, protect, and enhance our water resources.
Thank you. Candidate Miller, would you please unmute yourself and respond to the same question? What are your thoughts about the proposed $20 million capital improvement plan, including the location?
Thanks. My thought on this is that failure is very expensive. And so when we are racking and stacking priorities across the board, we need to look at the stuff that is most critical, right? So the idea of resilience within the system and making sure that we have prioritized the correction of any deficiencies or even inefficiencies across the board, that if we're losing water somewhere or if there's a chance that we would be unable to provide water somewhere, that needs to be addressed. On the idea of the new headquarters building, I think it's also important to recognize that it's never going to be cheaper to do these projects. Recognizing also that with the budget shortfalls, we might need to tighten the belt. I think absolutely across the board, it's going to take some sharpening of the pencil to say what can we do without. And then also within that plan, look at ways that we can capitalize on some revenue or perhaps existing properties and have maybe a shared building or use existing properties to generate revenue. Again, I don't think it's ever going to get cheaper to do these projects, but we need to be absolutely critical or absolutely certain that we have prioritized the capital expenses and it's consistent with our vision.
Thank you. Candidate Goodwin, would you please unmute yourself and respond to the same question? What are your thoughts about the proposed $20 million capital improvement plan, including the location?
You got me?
Yes.
Okay. I think it'd be really a bad idea for any new commissioner to take a look at that CIP list of projects and related costs and make any sort of judgment about their priorities or about the cost. The question I would ask as a commissioner, which is one commissioner set policy, is what are the policies that were used to develop the CIP plans? These plans are the results of hundreds of hours of work by engineers, maintenance and operations, finance and administration, as well as appropriate outside consultants. The status of the infrastructure, such as dams and reservoirs, filtration plants, transmission and distribution lines, vehicles, IT, software, meters, etc., all have to be evaluated and their repair and replacement scheduled and the cost estimated. The PUD has over $160 million in expenditures identified. This year's CIP is only a small part of that big picture. As a commissioner, it's our role to provide insight into thoughtful process is to place, as commissioners, it is our role to ensure a thoughtful process is in place to make these decisions. This year's budget briefly discusses that comprehensive system planning process. This just indicates to me that the 2020 CIP plan is a result of thoughtful and well-organized planning, and
Thank you. Candidate Nickel, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? What are your thoughts about the proposed $20 million capital improvement plan, including the location?
I would make sure that we're keeping everything maintained, and because long-term costs, if you let things fail, it costs more. So definitely maintain all the pipelines, maintain as much as we can. Of course, a new building must be pushed back because we're currently in not only a pandemic, but we're entering a Great Depression. We need to prepare for the future. We also need to prepare for the automation age, which is in the near future. Amazon has already replaced millions of jobs with machines. And if you remember a Blockbuster, it's been replaced with vending machines, and used to have employ like 6 full-time employees. So we need to make sure we're planning for the future and taking care of everything we can take care of, and trying to do what, like other candidates said, do what we can with what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to question number 4. Again, you have 1.5 minutes to answer the question. And when we get to 1.5 minutes, you will be, if you're still talking, you will be muted by our response team. Now, candidate Rick Pitt, would you unmute yourself and respond to the question? The staff plays a vital role in fulfilling the mission statement of the PUD. What do you see as your role in supporting the staff?
Leadership begins at the top with trust. You must trust the staff to do their job, and they must trust you to do yours. I value honesty, integrity, and hard work. The Board of Commissioners must model these qualities, or the staff will simply dismiss them as all talk. The board must be transparent, dependable, and accessible in communicating it with management and staff. Its honest, timely, clear, and straightforward manner. Without a board focused on the mission and goals of the PUD, working collaboratively with staff and the public, the PUD will not function effectively and achieve its goals. At the same time, the board's job is not to micromanage the organization. The board must recognize the role of management in carrying out the policy directives of the board. In most instances, the board should respect the chain of command that runs through management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, candidate Andrew Miller, would you unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The staff plays a vital role in fulfilling the mission of the PUD. What do you see as your role in supporting the staff?
Thanks. The vision actually precedes the mission. So the mission, while it's statutory, the vision is how we as a community want our water resources to be used, how we want our utilities, right? The leadership level. And I think it's absolutely critical that the commission set the policy, right? They set the vision, but it's not a mandate per se. It requires persuasion. It requires building a consensus and then driving that through the general manager, making sure that the general manager is organized, trained, and equipped, and his team is organized, trained, and equipped. The commissioners ought to be looking around corners. They ought to be reaching in and around to understand and not to direct. I think the biggest challenge that can face commissioners is to get into the day-to-day, into the details in a way that hampers the mission, opposed to driving clarity and holding the general manager and his staff accountable for the deliverables that everyone has agreed upon.
Thank you. Now, candidate Ken Goodwin, would you please unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The staff plays a vital role in the PUD. What do you see as your role in supporting the staff?
Just a second here. A little technical issue. There we go. Okay, thank you. The work of the PUD is primarily done by the staff and consultants. Commissioners may sit on committees and other organizations, but staff are doing the work. And I've been fortunate to have been a commissioner at a water district, and I've been a staff at a large water district, so I've seen both sides. It's the role of the commission to establish policies that promote the hiring of the best and the brightest. Commissioners should also have policies that ensure compensation levels are such that they attract and retain quality people. They should also look for policies that have succession planning as a part of it as people retire and move on. Establish policies that give staff guidance and minimize ambiguity. And if a dispute arises with a customer over a policy enforced by the staff, that the commissioners have their back and will back up the staff and support them. Commissioners need to ensure that the budgets have sufficient funds for ongoing training. It's vital that the staff be constantly looking at what they do and how they do it and see if there's a better way. I once saw King County Investment Office lose millions of dollars, and I was talking to the guy in charge of doing the investing, and he said he wasn't allowed to go to conferences. Had he done so, he would have learned his fellow cohorts weren't investing in the things that he was.
Thank you. Now, candidate Bryce Miller, would you please unmute yourself and respond to the same question? The staff plays a vital role in fulfilling the mission statement of the PUD. What do you see as your role in supporting the staff?
Was that Bryce Nickel? Okay.
Yes.
I would say it's in the question. Commissioners, leaders, managers have to support their staff, give them direction, and let them take care of the work. We need to make sure we're giving people educational courses, letting them go to conferences, letting them do their work. Support them as much as you can. I follow the teachings of Simon Sinek. He's a leadership coach. He does conferences. I recommend everyone watch his videos. It's all about supporting staff members and letting them do their job. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate Wim HOUPPERMANS, would you unmute yourself, please, and respond to the same question? The staff plays a vital role in fulfilling the mission statement of the PUD. What do you see as your role in supporting the staff?
It will be important to have good communications with the general manager, so that relationship has to be good and open. And in addition, the board, the commissioners, will set some policies. One policy that I would like to set relates to that the PUD runs on money that is all paid by the community. It's our local community that pays the bills that runs, of which the PUD runs. And I would like that money to stay in our community. So it would be nice to have a policy to hire the young people in our community, that they have a career within the PUD, that projects, construction projects, maintenance projects are done by our staff and not outsourced. And so that this money stays in our community, for our community. Ken mentioned training. It's important. I like to see that as a line item on the budget. With that, I yield.
Thank you very much. We now move to our final question, question number 5. Now, candidate Andrew Miller, would you please unmute yourself and respond to this question? Transparency is an important value in communicating with the taxpayers, voters, and residents. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, this is an interesting question because I don't know anyone, at least trying to get elected, that would say that transparency is not important. But I'll take it to the next level, and I think it's more about trust. I think when taxpayers, all the stakeholders, frankly, trust their commission, then things can move forward. And I think trust is actually a combination of character and competence. It means doing and saying the things that you say you're going to do. And I think the PUD needs to do that. And I think for the most part is very good at providing the services that they sign up to provide. And the other is competency. So between character and competency, I mean, I could trust, it's not about likability. I could really like my neighbor, but I wouldn't want him to do a root canal because he lays carpet. So I think what we need to do is make sure that we've conveyed the character of the commission and of our PUD, as well as the competence. I think we should really step in front of communicating the narrative of how well our PUD performs its mission. And when we drop the ball, I think we need to be the first ones to say that we can do better. And I think that's something that especially our community expects of its public servants, and especially of the PUD that delivers literally life-giving services.
Thank you. Now, candidate Ken Goodwin, would you please unmute yourself and respond to the same question? Transparency is an important value in communicating with the taxpayers, voters, and residents. What are your thoughts on this?
Hang on a second here. You still with me? There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. Transparency is absolutely vital to foster public confidence in the PUD. And the way you're going to do it, as has been mentioned by several people, is by earning their trust. And there is no limit to the amount of communications that you can do. And the PUD does some of them, and they should continue doing it through newsletters, publishing minutes online. Some districts even have their broadcast their commission meetings live, which is not a bad idea. The Port of Anacortes does it every time. One way to encourage transparency or to promote transparency is to encourage the attendance by the public to the key meetings, the ones that deal with the budget and are going to affect their rates, and to hear the staff discuss the whys and the why nots of what they're doing. Also, that the three commissioners have an issue that they need to be careful of, is that state law doesn't allow two commissioners to talk offline. You must be in a public meeting conducting the business of the public before you can to be in compliance with the law. And with three commissioners, it's easy for two of them to go out and have coffee, but you really can't do it. The public sees that and they suspect that something might be going on. So as difficult as it is with three commissioners, you need to have it needs to be an appearance of respect.
Thank you. Now, candidate Bryce Nickel, if you could please unmute yourself and respond to the same question. Transparency is an important value in communicating with the taxpayers, voters, and residents. What are your thoughts on this?
Like other people have said, I think we definitely need to stream our meetings as well as create videos about the PUD. Right now, the Skagit PUD has like 4 videos in total on their YouTube page. They should definitely expand that so people can learn about what the PUD is doing, what the commissioners are doing, all the projects they're working on, as well as maybe interview employees to talk about their job and their roles within the PUD so taxpayers and voters can learn about, and residents can learn about the PUD and how it functions. Definitely a lot more informational videos, expand the website. Right now it's just basic with basic text. There's a lot of meeting minutes, yeah. So that's good, but I definitely would include video footage for people with different learning disabilities like myself who need more hands-on video formats. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Wim HOUPPERMANS, would you unmute yourself, please, and respond to the same question? Transparency is an important value in communicating with the taxpayers, voters, and residents. What are your thoughts on this?
I have to echo Ken that as a commissioner, I cannot meet with other commissioners outside the regular commission meeting. And so transparency, first of all, means that all my business done is in public at the right spot. In addition, I think communication as individual commissioner with everyone in Skagit County, I'm here to hear their needs, and I will balance their need with the needs of the many, and I will bring it up when the opportunity arises in our board meetings. And I try to be as informed as possible and to answer questions as best as possible.
Thank you very much. Now, candidate Rick Pitt, would you unmute yourself, please, and respond to the same question? Transparency is an important value in communicating with the taxpayers, voters, and residents. What are your thoughts on this?
I agree with almost all of the comments made by the other candidates, especially Mr. Goodwin. I believe it's important to avoid an appearance of impropriety. As a municipal attorney, I'm very familiar with the Open Public Meetings Act and the Public Records Act. As an elected public official for a small water district, I have completed the Open Government Training course sponsored by the Washington Attorney General. If you're elected, you will need to do that also. As a PUD attorney, I have supervised public records officers and have successfully, not sure how successful, I guess, litigated one open public records case. Throughout my career, I've urged my clients to be more than transparent, to take affirmative action, to go beyond merely answering the constituents' questions, but to help them understand the answer. Some of the comments made, I think, are useful, but maybe not specific to the Open Public Meetings Act. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the candidates for answering the questions this evening. We now move in to our concluding statements. You each have 2 minutes for a concluding statement, and we want to remind you all to unmute yourself and before you present your closing statement. We begin with Mr. Rick Pitt. Mr. Pitt? Mr. Pitt, you need to unmute yourself. Thank you very much.
Okay, back again? Okay, thank you.
Here you are.
Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Clean, reliable water at consistently affordable rates is the challenge for the PUD. I believe I am the best candidate to help the PUD meet these challenges. I have no further political ambitions. I won't abandon my post or be lured away to another position. My education, training, and experience makes me the best qualified candidate for the commissioner's job. I urge all citizens to take a close look at the candidates, and I have confidence that they will agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to candidate Andrew Miller. Candidate Miller, you have 2 minutes for a concluding statement.
Thanks, Don. I've been encouraged with what I've heard tonight. I didn't know any of the other candidates, and I've enjoyed this brief time that we've got to get to know each other. I think what distinguishes me from perhaps the others is that my connection here to the county. I grew up here. I'm a veteran, went away and served the country, served in other capacities around the country, and came back to raise my 6 kids here in the Valley as an attorney, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and again, as a father. I've got a lot of skin in this game. And I think what the PUD really needs to do is focus on the future. It needs to take a good, hard look at what is it that we as a community want to do with our resources, and make sure that we have the policies and the practices and the team to pull that off. Now, there's a lot of legal that goes into that. There's a lot of engineering that goes into that. There's a lot of accounting that goes into that. But at the end of the day, the commission stands to provide leadership, to provide a vision. And that's what I've done my entire career, has been able to look around corners and see what's coming, and making sure that that there's a team on board and that there are resources, in the tank to deal with disruptions. And I don't think there's anybody out there that can say that we're not going to see disruptions in the future. There's the known knowns, and there's the unknown knowns, and there's a lot of unknown unknowns. And that's something that I've built a career around and been successful in, and not personally, but in building teams to be able to accomplish missions and challenges of that sort. And I think that's what our community expects of our elected officials, and that's what I've been able to do, and that's what I hope to bring to the PUD Commission. Thanks.
Thank you. We now move to candidate Ken Goodwin. Mr. Goodwin, you have 2 minutes for a concluding statement.
Okay, thank you. As I said earlier, experience counts. And as a commissioner in a water district that's about the same size as the PUD for 17 years, I've established an awful lot of policy, and I've seen a lot of things happen. And we've made a lot of changes, and we've done a lot of good things there. And I was fortunate enough to be an effective leader that I got elected 3 times. I've also been fortunate to be a staff at the Alderwood Water and Wastewater District as the Director of Finance. They are the largest water sewer district in the state. So we've seen just about everything there that you can imagine that would occur. And in addition to that, I've been able to be involved in many of the regional water issues to assist in moving water from one place to another. One notable one that I'm particularly proud of is being the Vice President of the Snohomish River Regional Water Authority. And we were able to take a 40 million gallon a day water right from Weyerhaeuser. We bought it from them when they ceased operations, and changed the place of use and the nature of the use from industrial to municipal. So 3 entities, Woodinville, North Shore Utility, and Everett, worked on that project, put it together, worked through the tribes, through the state and the feds, and all of the issues associated with that. And we were able to get a change of place of use and a change of use from industrial to municipal. And it was the largest change of place of use of water in the state history. So I've got a lot of experience being part of organizations that lead water issues and get effective results. I've also been considered in the industry as a team player, and I look forward to working with the other commissioners when I'm elected. And I want to say that it's been enjoyable talking to all the other candidates here. They're good people, and you won't lose. You'll be in good shape with whoever you pick. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to candidate Bryce Nickel. Candidate Nickel, you have 2 minutes for a concluding statement.
So what differentiates me is I'm a person of diversity. I'm part of the disability community. I have autism. I'm highly intelligent, ranked in the top 5% for innovation, leadership, and task management by various studies. I want to help us prepare for the future. I'm not running as this is not a job to me. This is me giving back to the public. I want to use my intelligence to make sure we are taking care of the community. We are preparing for the future. That's why I talk a lot about the automation age that's coming up soon, and how automation has replaced a lot of jobs, and we need to prepare for it. We lack leadership in higher positions. We are the frontline leaders as commissioners, and we needed to take care of our county, take care of the people, make sure utilities are always functioning no matter what happens. We make sure water, utilities, and internet, it connects us all. It keeps us productive, keeps our local economy healthy. And we need to prepare for high unemployment, because there will be. We will struggle in the future, in the near future. Right now, we're in a pandemic. We need to elect strong leaders for not just high positions, local positions. And I want to thank everyone. I think everyone's doing a great job. And I think no matter who is elected, we will all do a great job at this position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to candidate Wim HOUPPERMANS. And candidate HOUPPERMANS, you have 2 minutes for a concluding statement.
We live in one of the most beautiful places on the world. Stunning mountains, Puget Sound, a great river, and really a fantastic environment. The ecology, the orcas, really a beautiful place. And all that is held together or tied to water, and we all care about water. So the PUD, when it does its mission, it should also look beyond just bringing water to households and businesses. It's really also about taking care of the environment. And like I said, in August and September, in some years to come, it will be tough to provide water and not harm the ecology. So we have to plan for that. I'm really happy to live in Skagit County for the past 20 years. I love how it's diversity. It's that diversity I also want to see in the PUD. And I'm just happy that I can contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes our discussion. We want to acknowledge the City of Mount Vernon, TV 10 and TV 26, and especially Candy Galindo and her team for the recording and technical assistance. I would also like to thank Wendy Sanderson, Kathy Ream with the League of Women Voters, and also Ed West with the League of Women Voters for their involvement in this production this evening. Also, we invite you to learn more about these candidates. Look at the Vote for 11 website, where participating candidates can place information for your convenience. Go to their websites and social media pages. You can find us at our website, www.skagitlw.org, or find us on Facebook at League of Women Voters of Skagit County. We will repost the links to this on our League website, municipal and community pages. Feel free to send the links to others. And a reminder, ballots will be mailed on July 15th this year. Please remember to sign the ballot and put it in a mailbox or ballot drop box before 8 p.m. on August 4th, 2020. If using the mail, remember the postmark is critical. Allow an extra day or two in the mail. Thank you all for taking your time to view this broadcast, and please vote and encourage others to do so. Again, thank you so much to the candidates for appearing tonight, and thank you to the viewers. Again, thank you all so very, very, very much. Thank you. Good evening.